السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله يا مشايخ. للفائدة. جيد. So the book Ma'rakatun Nas by Fahad al-Ajlan, he talks about the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, the authority of the Sharia. The Muslims, they respect the Quran, they respect the Sunnah, they respect the Sharia, right? But then you have others who come along and they have a disease in their heart and they want to change the Sharia. Why the women are covering up their hair? Why are they covering up their face? Why do the men have beard? Why do they talk about halal and haram food, etc.? Why is it that the non-Muslim man, he can't marry a Muslim girl? No, 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 we need to change. It's now 2022. We need to change matters, right? So they come along, they want to change matters. But they can't take the whole Sharia and throw it away, because then the Muslims won't follow them, because the Muslims respect and revere and honor the Sharia and the Quran and the Sunnah. So these people, what do? They come along and they reinterpret. They come along and they make a new tafsir, a new ta'wil which is fasid. They do this because if they just said to hell with the Sharia, nobody will follow them. But now if they come along and they quote this scholar and this person and that person, and they come with fancy words, etc., maqasid and this and they're speaking the language of the Sharia. And then they say, you know what? All these ulama, the orthodox ulama you have been following all these years, these ulama here, they are the ones who corrupted the Sharia. We are the true interpreters of the Sharia. All these ulama, the Quran, Sunnah, to hell with all of that. We are the ones who are purifying matters, and these people polluted it. And then you will hear them saying, for example, well, you see, this hukum here, the people, they won't accept. This hukum here, you can't really convince the people about this hukum here. Jayid? They say that, you see, the ahkam of the Sharia, it can't go against the aql sahih, and that is correct. The ahkam of the Sharia will not go against the rational aql which is sahih, jayid. And so they say, well, if this hukum here, it was really the hukum of the Sharia, if it was really the truth, then our minds, our aql will be convinced of it. And if our aql is not convinced, it means that this ruling of the Sharia is incorrect. It means that it is a mushkila. It means that it has some khalal, something is wrong with it, and we have to reject it. And so many ahkam of the Sharia, they will reject. Why? Because their minds do not accept it. And they say, well, our minds will accept anything of the Sharia which is haqq. And if our minds don't accept it, it means that hukum, it is not haqq, but it is batil. Subhanallah, subhanallah, Jayid. So, how do you answer this, Jayid? We say that, since when convincing people equals something which is rational and something which is logic? Jayid? Convincing people is one mas'ala, and something being rational and logical is something else. Convincing people is a skill. It's something that you can learn. It's a talent, etc. with some, right? Somebody could have all of the adillah, all of the evidences, but he's not good in bayan, he's not good in speech, he's not good in convincing people. He doesn't have the ability to convince people because of other reasons. Jayid. So does it mean that he is upon batil because he can't convince? Does it mean that it is ghair ma'qul because he's unable to convince? Everybody knows that riba is something which is haram, it's wrong, it's oppressive, etc. But if you want to talk about some of the intricate masail of riba, to convince somebody that this is wrong, that it is haram, not everybody can do that. Maybe somebody needs to know about the stock exchange, he needs to know about the rules of gambling, he needs to know about how the monetary system and the financial system and the secular system and all of this here works, to be able to convince somebody. And not everybody has that type of knowledge. Jayid. Look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jayid. He was not able to convince everybody, iqna' nas. He wasn't able to convince all of the people. Jayid. People made fun of him. They made fun of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were not convinced by him. Jayid. They made fun of the Muslims. Jayid. وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون. They laugh at the Muslims. وإذا رأوك إن يتخذونك إلا هزوا. When they see you, they make fun and mockery of you. They made fun and mockery of the Prophet ﷺ. So he was not able to convince all of the people, Jayid. And also, many of them, they came to the Anbiya and they said, no, you need to give us this sign and that sign and this sign and that sign. And if you give us these signs, then we will accept. See, they were looking for evidences which they felt will convince them. Did Allah give them those evidences? The answer is no. جيد. لولا نزل هذا القرآن على رجل من القريتين عظيم. Rather, the Quran should have come down upon somebody else. لولا نزل عليه القرآن جملة واحدة. They say that the Quran should have come down one time. Why it's broken down? But Allah didn't agree with them. They said, no, we want it like this. Then we will be convinced. Allah didn't give in to their commands and their demands and their requests. وَقَالُوا لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى تَفْجُرَ لَنَا مِنَ الْأَرْضِ يَنْبُوعًا. They never got that. جيد. أو تكون لك جنة من نخيل وعنب فتفجر الأنهار خلالها تفجيرا. قال الذين لا يرجون لقاء نأتي بقرآن غير هذا أو بدله. So they came with all of these things here, but Allah didn't give them whatever they requested. In fact, we say that the job of the Nabi and the Du'at, etc., is to pass on the message, balagh, jayid. Your job is not to be able to convince people. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ هُدَاهُمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ يَا أَيُّهَا الرَّسُولُ بَلِّغْ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ رَبِّكَ وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ لَتُبَيِّنُنَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَكْتُمُونَ. جيد. So the duty of the Anbiya and the Du'at, etc., is to pass on the message. جيد. Also, many a times, convincing somebody depends on the manner that you put the message forward. جيد. Sometimes you can tell a person the haqq, but because you didn't tell them in a nice manner, they refused it. They refused to accept it because of the manner. Jayid. It's not because you didn't have the right evidences, but because of the manner. Iqna' nas has many other matters and factors related to it. The manner that you put it forward, the time, the appropriate time that you chose to put it forward to the person, etc. Jayid. And so the idea that people are not convinced about it, people won't accept it, right? Or people's minds don't accept it, so that equals that it doesn't make sense, and that equals that it's batil. This whole equation here in reality is batil. And also, whose mind? Whose aql? Whose aql? This person's aql is different from the next person's aql, and the next one is different from the other. So that's just a fa'idah with regards to this matter. But also, does this mean that we must not try to convince people? No, we must try. Whatever tools we have available, we must use to try to convince people of the truth of Al-Islam. But the mas'ala is, it's not a shart that if they are not convinced, then it equals whatever you were whatever you were teaching them, whatever you were talking to them, whatever you were inviting to them, that it is batil. No. You have people who worship idols. You have people who worship cows. You have people who worship private organs. You have people who worship the devil. Jayid. Their minds tell them that this is fine. Allahumma musta'an. Allahumma musta'an. Hayyakum Allah ya mashayikh.